About 40 years ago this time, I was starting to see the excitement level build. To see the Life magazine that showed the picture of Neil Armstrong waving to the crowd as he boarded the van to go to the launch pad on the morning of July 16th. This was something that hit me on a gut level, live from the moon. Those words were all you needed to see to know that you were living in an incredible time. It was a time when the whole world was redefining the notion of what was possible and impossible. And Neil Armstrong emerged from that spacecraft and climbed down the ladder. It was a black and white transmission, so it was fine with me to be in front of the black and white zenith in my parents' bedroom when this came down. It was like a dream. It was magical. This is a sequence of pictures from Apollo 15, and the commander of Apollo 15 explained what happens when you see the Earth get smaller and smaller. He said that when he looked at the Earth getting smaller, his reaction was, yeah, the Earth's getting smaller. And it didn't really make much of an impact on him. What did make an impact was the delay in the radio signals. When he would say into the microphone, Houston, Apollo 14, and there would be this pause before he heard, go ahead, Apollo 14. Literally so far out there that the radio signals took a noticeable time lag to get from the Earth to the moon. So I submit to you that what we were witnessing in the act of seeing humans walk on the moon was more than just a triumph of national endeavor, more than a matter of geopolitics, more than a scientific expedition, more than a technological miracle. It was, in fact, a turning point in human evolution. How about driving on the moon? You know, the last 3 moon landings, as I say, they brought along their own car. Boy, that was an experience. And Jim Irwin was the first guy to ride in the rover along with Dave Scott on Apollo 15, but Jim wasn't driving, he was the passenger. And we all know what that's like, right? We all know what that's like when you're in the passenger seat and you're not in control and things are getting a little hairy. Well, that happened on the moon. Now, I do need to stop and point out that, as I mentioned, the astronauts showed a surprising amount of variation in their reactions to the moon experience, and not everybody felt the way Dave Scott did about the moon. Here's Pete Conrad at the Ocean of Storms, 1969. He didn't go to a landing site that had mountains, and he had a somewhat different take, but I'll let Pete Conrad speak for himself. It's just a freaking pile of rocks that happen to be 250,000 miles away. It was a real challenge and a hell of a lot of fun to get there, but after it's all over, you can't say that's where you want to retire because it's pretty. It's not. It's beautiful in its starkness, but you don't want to sit there forever and look at gray rocks. Or brown rocks, whatever. The interest in Apollo started to fade, not with Apollo 16 or Apollo 15, but Apollo 12. This is not how the story was supposed to go, right? I mean, Apollo was just the beginning. We were going to, from the moon to the planets, from the planets to the stars. The people who insist that we didn't go to the moon and they cite all these so-called reasons, they're indulging in willful ignorance. I won't refute it point by point. I'll just offer a quote that Neil Armstrong said, and I think it's the best simple explanation to refute all of this, and he said, it would have been harder to fake it than to do it.